Hey, it's Central Valley Business. I'm your host, Steve Walling. My guest for this segment is Rose Gamino. Did I get that right?
Yes, you got it right.
Good.
Thank
and we're
you.
with HR Family or Therapy for Children and Families.
Yes, I'm a licensed marriage family therapist.
Be still my heart. Let's talk about a licensed marriage and family therapist.
Okay.
For people that have little or no clue about what that really entails. I mean, because there's a lot of people that hear about family therapists or marriage counselors or marriage, but they really have, well, maybe if things are really going south, I'll go. But you serve a lot broader grouping of patients. So tell us about it.
Well, I'm a licensed marriage family therapist.
Okay.
I've been working in the field about 9 years.
Okay.
Reason why I went into it was that I realized that there's just a lot of things that happen that are mental health related, and it's amazing to me how our bodies are not just physical bodies. We actually have a lot of things that happen to us biologically that impact our mental health.
Yes, they
so
do.
for an example, if you're not getting enough sleep, well, I've seen people where sleep deprivation leads to anxiety and depression in a lot of cases.
And a various, a whole bunch of other things people don't think about.
Right.
I mean, we think about maybe the mind having an effect on the body. Okay?
Right.
I mean, that's pretty much accepted. What people don't understand is the body can just reverse and have a great effect on the mind. Someone that has even mild chronic pain over an extended period of time, you have a whole myriad of psychological conditions that can be associated with that, besides depression, and PTSD, and various other things. They don't think about that, do they?
Honestly, I don't think our society really talks a whole lot about it. So where do I come in and all that? Well, I have a whole team. I have staff that are full-time paid staff, and we work with children, new moms, families, couples, you name it. And we work with it's not just anxiety, depression, PTSD. We work with all sorts of things, divorce, separation anxiety, so many different, there's such a wide variety that we can work with. My specialty is I'm an infant, parent, early childhood development specialist. That long title is I can early diagnose 0 to 5. So postpartum, 0 to 5, I refer a lot of kids out for screenings for early diagnosing.
Things like autism.
Autism, and actually there's a lot more going on to the sensory processing.
Okay.
Sensory processing, really is more of the newer. Pediatricians are now seeing it more than ever and being trained in it.
Rose, I heard someone talk, it's been not too long ago, talking about the neurological development of a young person. Mm-hmm. That we're beginning, with the advent of functional MRIs, we can see things now that we had no clue before, but that there are various windows, is what they're referring them to, in the growth period of a young person, where at this window, there's an optimal time for development within the brain of various types of skills, interactions. Language skills is one of those things. All children are born with the ability to speak any language, but after a certain point in their growth, their native language is pretty much where they're locked in. They can learn something else, but they'll always have like an accent or whatever. But I also learned that there are in young people that are in homes where there's an abuse going on, that there's actually, it's not just a psychological issue anymore. They realize that there's certain structures in the brain that kind of shut down.
That's right.
And
absolutely. And I work with a lot of kids that have trauma, as you'd call it. Now, when I say trauma, I use it very general,
right?
Because trauma for one person is different than another person,
right?
And I know a lot of people don't like using that verbiage, and that's fine. We can use a different verbiage if they like. However, I have a lot of kids I've worked with that things have happened, and it's impacted, impacts their reading, impacts their writing, impacts their social life, and impacts their family life. There's so many things that it impacts. And so as a therapist, I help work with the children, adults, families, couples, work on coping mechanisms, figuring out, trying to help them okay, this has happened, so how do we go from here? And how do we help you have the most fullest life possible, even with this
And that's
background?
real important. And when you're dealing with that type of patient, a young person
Right.
in that, it's not just, like you said, it's not just them. It's their family environment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, well, I'll take my child and the therapist is going to take care of it and everything's fine. Doesn't work that way, does it?
No.
You know, parents have to be involved. They have to be involved not only because they need to be aware of what's going on with their child, but maybe they need to be aware of what's going on with them in that child-parent relationship, or maybe even in the parent-social relationship or the parent-family relationship, because it all impacts the child, doesn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
It does.
And when you can do this at this age for younger people, you really set up a foundation for a more solid, long life experience, don't you?
Yes. And, you know, when I work with families, there's just so much more education that I really hope to give to more education to families. For an example, if your mom had depression or anxiety,
Right.
then had you,
Mm-hmm.
and she had depression or anxiety even during her pregnancy with you,
Mm-hmm.
which usually goes undiagnosed, your child has an 80% chance of having depression or anxiety.
Really?
So, given that, that's a high underdiagnosing that we have in our society, and I know that there's such a stigma about
Right.
mental health that a lot of families just don't want to have that diagnosis, and it's hard. It's a hard thing to work through with your family, and it's a lot easier, I think, for a lot of families to just say, well, they just have issues, instead of actually having right, you know,
Yeah,
instead
we
of
just
having
got, you know.
like a of actually getting treatment, because treatment is really hard, and that means the whole family, like you said, the family has to get involved. The family has to be part of the process somehow, and it's really hard. And so I work with a lot of families with the education component, educating a lot of families on like ADHD, ADD. Your child does not intentionally want you to be mad at them. They wish
They don't.
No, they want to be loved. They want to be hugged. They don't want to be considered a problem.
Until they get to be a teenager.
Well, then they just want to be their own individual self.
And you work with teenagers too.
I work with a lot of teenagers.
Yeah.
I do.
And that's a whole topic in and of itself.
Oh, yes.
A lot of stuff goes on at that period of a young person's life.
Oh, yes.
You enjoy your work?
I love my work.
Yeah.
I love it. I love helping families and kids. I love kids. I love it. I love that our offices are very family friendly. One of the things that we did was when I got the lease of the building, I asked the landlord to put a baby changer in the bathroom.
Oh.
And he had said that in like 8 years, no one has ever asked for a baby changer in the bathroom. And I'm like, well, where do you expect moms to go change their babies then? In our
Sidewalk works.
I know. But I was like, how do you know,
Yeah.
so we've been really, we actually have like infant massage classes for
Do you
new
really?
moms.
Cool.
Yeah, we have a licensed massage therapist that come. She teaches the moms how to massage their babies, and infant massage
all right,
helps
Rose,
with colic.
let me ask you. You have that class. Do you have other classes for parents?
We offer different parenting classes. I don't per se give it.
Right.
My other colleagues, they do it. That. So if someone wanted to call my number, ask.
What is your number?
My number is 559-431-3900.
And what's the name of your clinic?
It's Rose Gamino, LMFT.
Good. And you've got, you have other people that
I
teach
do.
various classes that help families grow and support each other in so many different ways.
Yeah, well, we're all colleagues, so they're not part of my business. But we have a building, and there's like 14 therapists there, and we all like rent space.
Right.
And one therapist, she's amazing. She does like really great couples work. That's her specialty. My work is different. So if I, can't help the person that's called, I just refer them to someone else in the office and just say they'll be great for you.
Okay. I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of parents out there that are kind of clueless. You're right. They look at their child and say, well, there's issues. What message would you give to a parent as far as how to become aware of what's going on with their child?
Okay. Let me reframe. I wouldn't say they're clueless.
Okay.
Let's put it this way. I always tell parents this, and I truly believe this. I think as a parent, we do the best that we can for our circumstances and given our history.
Right.
I always say hindsight is always better. Because we look back and we're like, oh my gosh, I could have done that differently or better. I just really encourage parents, you know what, go read up. Go read up on symptoms that your child has. Don't diagnose them, but, you know, go to your doctor. Say, hey, I really think that my kiddo might have depression, or they might have anxiety, or they might have ADD. Get a professional to evaluate them.
Establish a dialogue.
Yes.
Okay.
And start talking to your child about it and just saying, hey, you know, are you experiencing this? I have a lot of parents that come in and they say, my kid's been having panic attacks. I didn't even know what that was. And I said, okay, well, you know, this is what a panic attack looks like, and this is how you can work with it. Because as a parent, I think that we get really easily frustrated in thinking that our child is deliberately trying to do, like, have a panic attack, or deliberately trying to work themselves up. But the problem is that a lot of the children that I work with, actually all of them, they're not trying to work themselves up. It's a lot of it is biological. They get activated really quickly.
There's various triggers that, you know, some psychological, some biological, some emotional, and
it's personality too.
It kind of rolls.
Right. And so, okay, well, you have a child that might be, you know, easily activated by something. So how do we work with that instead of escalating it? Because by getting mad at them or reacting strongly to it, we're actually going to...
Oh, we'll just give them time out. They can stand in the corner. I don't have to worry about it.
And my thoughts are on that, a lot of kids do better with hugs, empathy. When I say empathy, I mean sitting with them in the pain. And even if we don't have the answer for it, it's like, I don't know how to fix it, but I'm here with you on it.
That's very important.
Yes.
That's really good. Rose, thanks for being on the show. Thank you. I like what you're doing. Sounds great.
Thank you.
Again, the name of your clinic?
Is Rose Gamino, LMFT.
Located?
Here in Fresno.
Okay. Got a Facebook page?
I don't.
Got a web page?
I do not. Oh. I have just a number, the 559-431-3900, and anyone can leave a message there and I can call them back.
Very good. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
This is a very important and critical thing, particularly in today's world where things are so much more complicated. What children have to deal with is so much different than what they had to deal with years ago. Pay attention to your children. And if you need to, start a dialogue with your healthcare professional. And if it goes beyond that, get a hold of Rose. It'd be a good thing. And I'll see you when we come back.